opposing the government. My name is Mal O'Brien, and I'll be speaking to you this evening. Now, the Prime Minister, I'll address each member of the government in turn. So let's start out with the Prime Minister. Now, the Prime Minister states first that this is a United States issue. And first I would like to say that smoking is a worldwide issue. And he stated that repealing this ban is good for four main reasons. And to support it, he essentially used a slippery slope argument. That, you know, let's say we get rid of smoking, it hurts our First Amendment rights, and we aren't allowed to do anything else. And a point I'd like to hammer home tonight is that the Supreme Court has cited...
Point of information, which of the 4 points is the slippery slope, or can you just elaborate on that?
A slippery slope is a general legal term.
No, I mean, which of the 4 points?
Which of your 4 points? I don't know, you kind of jumbled them. But I quote you by saying, by obstructing the public smoking ban, you somehow defame the First Amendment, and that is what a slippery slope argument is. I mean, if you hurt one part of the amendment, your protections for the other parts also degrade. It's an argument you use throughout your speech. Anyway, so about this slippery slope argument, the Supreme Court has cited over and over again that your right to do something ends when another person's right to do something begins. Kind of like a fail-safe in this situation. So let's take a look at restaurants. You're in a restaurant, you want to have dinner, but there's a smoker or a table of smokers across the hall or something in the restaurant. And even though you are not smoking, your right to have dinner uninfringed by smoke is still hurt by those people smoking across the hall. You're not the smoker, but because of the nature of smoking, the smoke that gets throughout the air, it hurts you. And that is illegal. Let's see. Alright, so that covers the restaurants. Another point you brought up is that smoking would hurt immigration, and you cited specifically the Middle East. Now, I can't resist but saying that the last time we had major Middle East immigration, bad things happened. So maybe that's not such a good thing. Now, overall, immigration in this country is one of the very few things that is increasing. So, I mean, the whole idea that, like, repealing a New York City ban on smoking is somehow hurting immigration, it's just absurd. I mean, we're talking about putting a fence along the border with Mexico, and we're saying that somehow this is hurting immigration. I don't think so. All right. You also said that the court makes a cost-benefit analysis with your rights. And I would say, no, not really. I think it's just trying to protect your rights. It probably does not take into account the tobacco company's bottom line when making a ruling. I mean, it's trying to protect you, not the company. And they have decided that in public interest, this ban should be upheld for that reason. Now, on to the member of government. You said that this boils down to one key issue, rights versus U.S. health. And I ask you this, don't you have a right to be healthy? I mean, you said it was a matter of choice, that let's say you're walking down the street and you go to a restaurant and smoking's allowed. It's your choice to walk to another one. So let me ask you this. Let's say there is no ban on smoking. Let's say the smoker, let's say there's no New York City ban on smoking, but an individual restaurant is being prejudiced against smokers and not letting them in. What if that smoker decides to take this restaurant to court? I mean, you have to make accommodations for all other types of people, like handicapped people, people in wheelchairs, all kinds of things. So the same would apply for smoking. Now, I don't think restaurants should have to accommodate those people if they don't want to, and this just makes it a lot simpler. I mean, really, it's not like every other person is a smoker. Most Americans are not smokers. So, I mean, it would be far more effective to just let the smokers go somewhere else than to have then have to provide accommodations for them. I think at one point, I believe the member of government decided that the Perkins had put in a whole new air filtration system in part of its building for the smokers. Now, if I were a restaurant, it wouldn't really make much sense to me to put in a whole new ventilation system for smokers if I didn't have to. I mean, think about how much money that costs. On the flip side, I mean, it's not like they're bringing you any more business. A pancake bought from a non-smoker costs the same amount as a pancake bought from a smoker. So, I mean, it would be much easier just to let the smokers go somewhere else than to force you to provide accommodations for them. I mean, in addition, this ban on smoking, I mean, keeping it here, it allows these restaurants to avoid probable lawsuits from customers. So let's say we have a person with emphysema, and he goes into a restaurant. And because of the smoking going on in that restaurant, which even if he's in a non-smoking section, could probably still affect him, he goes into an asthma attack and dies. It's possible that the restaurant could be held liable for that. I mean, it may not seem fair, but it happened on their property, and U.S. law states that if you could have done something to stop it, then you had to. For example, let's say if it becomes economically all right to put breathalyzers in cars, car companies will then have to do that or face lawsuits from people who get hit by drunk drivers. It seems somewhat absurd, but that's just the way it is. So the same would apply to restaurants. And if we lift this ban, they would have to worry about all this stuff that goes along with smokers. So, in my conclusion, my fellow debaters and honorary judges, repealing the ban on smoking in New York City would be one of the worst decisions New York City has made in the last century. It would hurt the rights of millions of people to live in a smoke-free environment. Ask yourselves this: do you want your children having their 5th birthday party next to smokers? I mean, our kids today already have so many disadvantages. I mean, apart from just the deadly fumes in New York City, you don't want to add on to that the deadly fumes that they could be consuming in a restaurant when they should be in a safe environment. I mean, we do so much to try and protect them, and I think repealing the ban on smoking, I mean, it would just be ridiculous to do so. I mean, for our safety, for our security, and for our public well-being, I think we should uphold the ban on public smoking and reject this government initiative. Thank you.